Turning a pencil sketch into a vector digital illustration. Featuring the iPad app, Adobe Ideas. Touch and open the Adobe Ideas icon. Appearing will be the project gallery. We will begin a new project using a photograph by clicking on the picture icon located at the mid-right bottom of the screen. Among the choices given, choose the camera option. This will bring up the iPad's built-in camera. Position the camera in front of your sketch until it is aligned and focused. Take a photograph of your drawing. At this point, you can choose to retake or use the photograph. Once your photo is selected, the image will appear in the Adobe Ideas drawing screen. Use the pinch method to scale down or reverse pinch to scale up the image size. Now let's test the brush tool. You can control the width of the line in several ways, by sliding your stylus or finger up or down in front of the width indicator or diameter control. Notice the tapering of the line's edges. This is particular to the brush tool. Lines can also be modified in width by making a fast stroke, creating a thinner line, or dragging slowly the stroke, creating a thicker line. Correct mistakes by tapping on the backward or left-facing arrow key. Notice also the eraser tool at this time. It can also be modified in width, but only via the width indicator. Let's lower the contrast of the base layer, the photograph of our sketch, by selecting the bottom left icon for layers. Select the photo layer, and then modify its opacity by using the slider. This will allow us to see the digital lines drawn in stronger contrast. Use the diameter indicator to dial up or down the width of your mark. Establish contours by tracing over the rougher sketch's edges. I often recommend using lighter lines initially, especially if you are indicating up planes, which would typically catch an overhead light source. Thicker lines should be used to indicate shadows for down planes. Or thicker lines can be used to emphasize edges significant to the characteristics of your form. At some point, go back to the Layers box and turn off the photograph of your original sketch to allow you to see clearly the developing digital image. From here, embellishments and inventions of form can be made without distraction. Such embellishments should include contours describing interior planes and features. It is best to create interior contours starting from the nearby exterior contour line and drawing in from there. You can also invent new parts of a form that were not captured in the original sketch. One good trick for making a confident line is to place a point indicating where you intend for the line to go. Then draw from the existing contours to that line. Once the contours are set, we are ready to introduce values. A palette can be developed manually by selecting the color tool and then opening the color sliders by clicking on the bottom arrow. Choose the gray bar to begin and modify its value by sliding the light to dark bar on the far right. You can select and drag the tone after it's created to the right, replacing one of the already existing colors. Do this to get a range of 5 grays, which can operate to describe categories of light and shadow. Now select the layer box and create a new layer. This will be the layer we apply tones to. Reposition the line layer so that it is on top of the intended value layer. This will allow any tones we place to be seen drawn underneath the lines. Select mid to dark gray tones to use as shadows and core shadows, and begin establishing shadow shapes throughout the subject. Continue developing light planes, a stage darker than the brightest whites. Also select a near white or a light gray and place them where the strongest lights would be. Finally, establish reflected light near core shadows. Be sure they are darker than the lit planes. Be sure to create transitional value shapes to blend lights and darks more naturally. Surface details can also be added with tonal shapes. You can also consider making tonal renderings indicating changes in local value, such as here where the beat becomes darker. Use the eraser tool to clean up and shape the tones, keeping them inside the lines. Color can also be added by creating another drawing layer. Choose a color that suits your subject. Be sure to lower the color layer's opacity to just over half before using it. And that this color layer is placed over the top of the tonal layer. Use the brush tool to paint the color uniformly over all intended areas. You will see some of the tonal layers modifying the color's value. Once the whole area is colored in, you essentially have a unified colored shape, which can be quickly modified. Simply modify your color in the palette box, then press your stylus or finger firmly inside the area of the color shape and hold it there a couple of seconds. The color will instantly and uniformly change. You could also use the bucket tool to gain a similar effect. You may add other colors as necessary to complete the subject, such as here inside the eye. Now you can create a background color. Begin by creating a new drawing layer and moving it down to the bottom of the stacked layers. This ensures that you will not interfere with the existing image. Create a color in the color palette that will give contrast to colors of the main subject. In this case, I am using a cooler and slightly less intense color. Use the eraser tool to eliminate unintended color bleeding over the edges of the contours. Look over the image to ensure quality. Finally, save your image in one of two ways. You may send the image via an email, or you may share your image, saving it to the image library.